Hello everyone and welcome back to Automation. The last time when we left off, the T-Rex's facelift had just launched and that's netting us a nice 5 million in profit per month, which is very nice. Still got 400 million in the bank. So this is looking really quite good for us. The Pebble is being designed, it will come out end of 47. So we've got to think about what we're going to get up to this time. And I think first thing, we're going to give the T-Rex the last facelift. So it's coming up to about 10 years since it was initially designed. Generally what I try and replace the cars on this, they start to get some sort of body dating, starts to really build up after 10 years. But if we give this one last facelift, I'll take it through a little bit later, and then we can look into replacing it altogether. And for the facelift, I think I'm going to do something slightly different, because I was having a look at the markets. What I can see is that we are making quite a bit of money right now, potentially from premium market, even though we've not really got a good car there. So right now, we aren't really hitting this upper end of the market, premium, luxury, and luxury premium. We can probably do that with the T-Rex body, although the kind of basics are on the cheaper end. We can probably do quite a lot by updating that, making a bit more of a fancy all-around model, giving it a little more power, a little more integration to help push these markets here, because there's quite a bit of untapped revenue we can get there. We can push it. Incidentally, while we're just on this screen, I just want to point out that our current revenue is actually mostly coming from family budget and city budget. The T-Rex is actually selling really well in those markets, despite really not being aimed for those markets. These markets are just so massive that we're making quite a bit of money here. We are making a little bit on these others. And since I do want to do a slightly more up-to-date version, I do want to let time advance a little bit just so we can reach 75. So at 75, we get the first turbo unlocking. And I don't think that's going to be really good, so we can put in a new engine variant with the turbo engine, have that really aimed at the upper end of the market, and at the same time that will give us some more familiarity with turbos so that we can put those into our cars in the future, because really once we've got these turbos going, we don't want any cars without a turbo injection system. Turbo power system. What I'll do is I'll advance time a little bit just until we have that aspiration twin turbo tech unlocked, which should be at the end of the year. So welcome back. So that technology has come in, and Gazmia has announced that it will be banning leaded fuel in 10 years. And so really we need to make sure that all of our engines going forward aren't using leaded fuel. So it becomes illegal in 78 for Farinia and Hetvasia. Ahana and Dilua don't care about it, so it's going to be legal for the foreseeable future. Gazmia is a massive power, and we really need to be able to sell there. For now, though, we are going to jump into the T-Rex and give it its final facelift. So T-Rex, we're going to do a new facelift. This is going to be our 72 trim. And we are replacing both of these. First of all, I'm just going to edit the baseline engine. This will also be our 72 variant. We'll just see what we can do with this, what we can get away with without making the cost too high. This is still going to be our budget variant for this. So the main thing we want is just to have it as affordable as possible. There's really not too much that we can do with this one, just because we want to avoid putting in turbo just for the price. The turbo really does shoot up the price considerably. It's not too bad. There is an argument that we could go for it. It does increase the fuel efficiency if we put it on that preset, but it does make the service cost go up notably, production units go up. So I think I'm going to just have to leave this off. And so this is basically the same engine, but I will come back to this and design the turbo variant. May as well do that now, actually. So I'm just going to clone the existing variant. This is going to be the 72T edition, or I'll do it 2-litre T. We are going to put a turbo on this. So I'm actually going to do temporarily. So this is really just the original engine with a turbo added, trying to aim to give this better overall performance values. So kind of increasing both fuel economy and power, giving us a nice broad power profile here. And that gets us to 119 horsepower. What I'm going to do is see how much the old car likes this one, how much the cheaper markets prefer this one over the non-turbo version. It is more expensive, but it is quite a bit more performing, so I just want to see if they prefer that or not. And just adjusted a couple of other things. This is now really tailored towards fuel economy, so we've got really quite a high fuel economy here. So I want to see if they're happy with this. If they're not, and they'd prefer the old version, then I'm just going to edit this and just make it into a pure top-of-the-line variant of the engine. And just to make that easy to compare, I'm going to clone the budget variant and put in the other engine. So actually comparing these numbers, they do prefer this version of the engine for the premium budget category. I am guessing that is largely because of the fuel saving offsets the cost of the engine. They're willing to pay a little bit more to get an affordable engine, which does actually give more power, or then just gain the advantage of using significantly less fuel. So if you look here, without touching anything else, this is the budget version, 107. We put in the new engine, it goes for 135. Then on top of that, the affordability actually goes up ever so slightly. So it is a more expensive engine, but that fuel is offsetting it. So that seems pretty good. So this does now have a brand new engine inside it, so we are going to need to tweak a few things. Okay, so we have balanced this quite well. In terms of what we changed, there wasn't really too much that we needed to play around with, just some balancing of the brakes. Biggest change is instead of the luxury 8-track, which was selected, I believe the old thing we had may have expired here. That's incredibly expensive. We can get pretty much the same thing for the phonograph here, so I've put in a phonograph. Also changed from luxury to premium, and this is our cheaper version, and that significantly increases the affordability of this while still maintaining a decent desirability there. Also increased the safety to advanced 70s. Really didn't cost us too much extra compared to what we had of advanced 60s. While at the same time, that'll give us some more experience on the sort of higher end safety. So looking at the markets here, this is doing pretty nicely where we want it to. Incidentally, again, accidentally a family car. We weren't particularly aiming for that, but it kind of makes sense. Family car and budget, so premium budget, it's really going to have a large amount of overlap there. And so next, let's go on to the convertible budget. And first initial step, we are going to swap out the engine. So to see where we were there, that is 267.7 on convertible budget, 41% affordability. We're on 265 now. So the convertible budget does actually prefer the older engine over this new one, but I think we can balance that out with some changes And I think it's going to be worth keeping down the number of engine variants we're designing, so we can just scrap the non-turbo engine entirely. Again, we're aiming for the budget end here, so I've actually taken out all of the entertainment here. They're having to pay extra for the actual convertible mechanism, so we can save a little bit there. We do that on Advanced 70s, there's only one thing there to research. In terms of markets, that's nicely filling in the convertible budget section. With a little bit of overlap elsewhere. Convertible sports budget's getting in a little bit, so that's quite decent. And I'm going to clone the regular premium budget, unless we're just looking for more of a premium version. So I'm going to edit our engine. This is going to be the injection variant. I'm going to be making this one quite a bit more expensive, but hopefully quite a bit nicer to drive. And we're aiming for the premium category in this, and so we're looking for good performance, yes, but equally we are looking for decent smoothness stats. So here's the comparison of the two engines. So this is our injection engine here with turbo geared towards performance. The fainter line is the carburetor engine with the turbo geared towards fuel efficiency. And so yeah, we've certainly taken a hit on fuel efficiency there, but we're still doing a lot better all in all. Getting a lot more power out, a lot better throttle response, even smoother than it was. And the downside is, of course, this is costing a lot. That's fine. Got our two engines. Let's just see what this sounds like with the turbo. Certainly seeming really quite good there. Realised on that test that the exhaust was no longer large enough for this, and so it's choking the system. And so now we're getting 155 horsepower. That's the same engine. Just double checked, and on the other engine, the exhaust was a little bit low, so I widened that a bit. So we should have two really good engines for our cars. And we're going to be specifically targeting the premium category on this one. So here we have it. We have got a car that is now very attractive in the premium category. Most premium buyers can afford it. Those 30% that can't afford it, we've already catered for them. They can go down to the budget version. And nicely, this is now also in the luxury market, as well as the GT and the GT Premium. They're not too big fans, they'd prefer a coupe body type. We don't have the option for that, but even without that, we're getting some in there. So I think this opens up quite a lot of new markets for us. And right now, I don't think I'm going to make a convertible variant, just because the amount of money we can get out of the convertible premium market here really isn't that high. The actual premium is much, much higher, so I think we're just going to stick with that to reduce engineering time. Turns out the car has a load of spare engineering time compared to the engine, which I don't think it will. Then I might add an extra trim. But for now, I think 3 trims should do. So just in terms of what I did there, big changes. I've gone for magnesium tyres. This is now handmade with a luxury 8-track, so really going all out on the interior. And we've also put in hydro pneumatic springs, which they really liked. Now we are going to have to put in the leatherworks because of that handmade interior, but I think that's going to be worth it for opening up those new markets. This is going to cost us quite a bit to put in, but we are factories aren't in great conditions as it is, so it's worth doing a refresh anyway. So just as a ballpark, that's estimating 62 months. And go over and sort the engines out. Massive ballpark, but all these settings are a bit weird. So we're going to aiming for 65. It's going to be quite a long time. We should still learn quite a bit from this design. This is our first turbo that we're putting in here. So we're aiming for 65 here. Saved a bit of cost there. Get this one also on 65. You can see the difference in the cost of these. The earlier two variants really low, 7,000, 5,500. Fancy versions 15,000. So we've got some very interesting looking numbers here. This is with all my current settings are as they are, all costs are factored in, and this is projecting that we'll be making 760 million in the first year, and then after that it's going up by about an extra 100 million, 100 million, and then slowly flattening off after that. That's an incredible early profit for everyone buying these cars initially. I don't know if those numbers are going to pan out, but if they're anywhere vaguely correct, then this is definitely worthwhile us jumping into. It's 200 million all in all. I don't think we're going to take the loan for that, getting enough money, so I'm just going to eat that cost. So all in all, pretty big change there. Putting in our first turbos, and we're now expanding into new markets using the T-Rex. So really at this point, T-Rex isn't just a budget line anymore, but it's a potentially budget line that's really just trying to dominate that four-seater categories. We still have Pebble coming up in a few years, so I think the next thing is just to fast forward time until the Pebble releases. And there we have it. The Pebble has completed its engineering, and in its first month it has sold 2 million, so looking pretty strong. There's the convertible sports and light sports version that is selling most, but we're not just going to sit on our hands here. We want to immediately put this in for a facelift, because we've got a number of new technologies. So aspiration is the big one, and I want to get that turbo research going as soon as possible. So we're giving its first facelift. This is the 74 facelift. And as always, the first thing I'm going to start with is the engine. Okay, so I played around with this a bit, and we have ended up with a far superior engine. Just an absolutely fantastic engine here. So the old one, as always, is shown in this faded colour. So we were doing 412 horsepower. We are now doing 719 horsepower at our maximum. And not only that, but that is with changing from the 98 run super leaded to the 91 run unleaded. So we've got worse fuel, at least from an engine performance perspective, but we've got almost twice the horsepower. Torque as well is just shot right up there. This is very much geared towards the high end, really going for the sort of sporty category here. Lots and lots of horsepower out at the maximum. I think that's really worthwhile. In terms of expense, it is more expensive than the old one, but not like ridiculously much so. And in terms of research time, it's not actually that much more than what we had before. Incidentally, I've also changed over to per cylinder fuel injection. That took a bit of balancing, but we got this working really quite well. So let's listen to our new 700 horsepower engine here. I do love that you can hear that turbo spooling up towards the top of that curve there, where it really kicks in to give it that added boost. So that's one hell of a fancy engine there. Next one was our slightly more budget variant. I'm going to see if I can put in a cheaper variant, but I'm also going to be looking into putting this in as a turbocharged engine, so trying to keep cost relatively down while still seeing what we can do with the turbocharger. So we're gonna, I think this is a net benefit. We've added the turbo, this time trying to tune it more towards fuel economy. And especially this has allowed us really take down the fuel mixture. Fuel economy has gone from 8.5 to 10.7. And again, we've switched out of super leaded and onto regular. So I think that's going to be a pretty good set. Now, jumping back to the car designs, we're going to go through each of these and see how we're doing. They've all automatically been updated with the newer versions. To begin with here, we have the Light Sports Premium version. And so I'll run through this, see what we can do with this fancy version of the car. So for the Light Sports Premium version, managed to balance this quite well. Put in a phonograph into it, otherwise not too much has changed, just balanced a few things to bring the new more powerful engine under control, but nicely hitting the Light Sports Premium market there, right where we want to, overlapping into the muscle car market and the muscle car premium market, which is nice since we're now into Gazmia. And just as before, this is counting as a hypercar. That is now an even better hypercar thanks to that much more powerful engine, so I hope it will pick up some sales there. Do you just want to see what this thing's test track time is now with its massively powerful engine? .215, so it shaved a few seconds off, 3 seconds off the previous time. Next one is our convertible sport variant, and massively popular. But I'll just see if I can tweak this to get the best out of it. So I think I did pretty well, over 1,000 competitiveness. I think that means no one in the convertible sports market wants to buy anything that isn't this car. And 75% of them can afford it. Almost 100% of the convertible supermarket can afford it, and they really want it. And it's bleeding over into the sports market as well. So right where we want it, filling all of these categories very nicely. Convertible don't want it since it doesn't have enough seats, but that's fine. That's what our other variants are for. We are nicely hammering this market here. So now onto the cheaper light sports category. Again, really here, what we want to do is, make sure the light sports is still selling, but really trying to bring down that price. So I think we've ended up with something reasonably good for the light sports category. We've got quite a big desirability here. It's not really all that affordable, but it's over half. Still getting a lot of that market. Downside, just as with the first trim, is I really can't get this not to terminally oversteer when I'm keeping the wheel sizes the same. And so this is just the price they're having to pay. So there we go, there are 3 categories. Ballpark 84 months on this. I'm going to check what it is on the engines. And we save a little bit of money and not refresh the engine factory. It doesn't really need it, it's quite expensive. So only 28 on the engines. And I'd love to target something like 48 months to get our car coming out when the fuel ban's coming out. Double check when that is. Yeah, so 1948 we'll not be able to sell into Freeney or Hetvacia anymore. So we're going to try and target that. We'll just have to see if we can match that with the car. I actually can, as long as I cheap out on the automation. Which is fine, makes cars a tad more expensive, but not really all that much. And that'll get these out, so there'll be about a 5-month period where we can't sell into Frenia. That's fine, that'll be when the factories are being shut down anyway to convert over. So it's not really a big loss there. So once again, we've got some really good looking numbers here. Our markets making 300 million in the first few years, certainly looking really, really good. And again, even if these numbers are just a little bit off, that's still amazing profits, and that's factoring in all of our costs. I certainly think this is worth changing over. Only 41 million, barely anything. Don't need a loan for that, can just sign that off. Okay, well the next thing then is going to be advancing time and pushing on towards the release of the T-Rex's new variant. Then after that we can start thinking about what is going to replace the T-Rex. So I'm just going to go ahead and advance time to midway through 77. So Delua has just announced that in 10 years it will be banning lead fuel. Doesn't really matter for us, we've already converted all of our vehicles off of that. And we are in the good and bad situation that we're now paying 8.8 million in tax a year. But that's a good sign that we are making a lot of money. You can certainly see that. So we're still just starting 75 here. The Pebble is making 3 million in profit a month. T-Rex is making nearly 6 million a profit in month. And so both of those are really hammering it for us. I do just want to take a quick look at the marketing while I remember to. I just do want to push our prestige in Gazmir a little bit, since that is a really big market, especially for the premium lines that we're bringing out. Also upping Helvetia a little bit, and adding agility to our Delua market, just because it costs us next to nothing. So hopefully that will increase our market's awareness in several of those countries. So just continuing on. And so there we go. The new T-Rex has completed its engineering project, and in the first month it made 14 million, which really is absolutely fantastic. The premium budget model is the highest selling version. Again, that has this overlap into family and family budget, so big markets that it's selling into. Equally, the convertible budget market is also selling pretty well, and overall we have been making huge amounts of money, to the point we've now got 800 million sitting in the bank. Of course, that's costing us a lot in tax, but that is absolutely fine. Better to have money enough to be seriously taxed than anything else. I'm going to start increasing some of our research just to keep us ahead of the game in some of these. So I've put everything on a baseline at least 1 full year ahead. Also increased a couple of other things, pushing the drivetrain a little bit more. So I think we could use quite a bit more options there. So we're getting all-wheel drive is coming along soon. And more gears will also be helpful. Equally, I've boosted the top end a little bit. Mostly that's because we've got variable valve timings options coming along, and those are really very useful in this. They let you balance the engines a lot better, so instead of just being good at 1 RPM, you get much broader RPM coverage, which is really nice. And looking ahead to next time, we have a number of options for the replacement for the T-Rex. So we've unlocked a lot here. We've got this 3-meter option here, which has both a hatchback version and a sedan version, which would fit in very nicely. With a convertible soft top option, we also have this 1980 body here, a little bit shorter on the wheelbase, but still pretty big. Now this one does have, again, both coupe and sedan versions, but it is lacking in that there is no convertible option. So I'll probably be sticking with the convertible option for now. But just to round off today's episode, what I am going to do is go to the Pebble, and I would like to export one of these new varieties with the turbo, really just to see what it's like driving that. And I think I'm going to go for this really popular convertible version. So I'll export that to BeamNG Drive, and we can have a test of that. So here we are in BeamNG Drive. Since we've already taken this or the previous variant of this around on the test track, I loaded up one of the other maps. Since we've just opened up Gazmere, I thought I'd take this out on the Utah map, and has a nice big highway, which will be good for testing this now ridiculously powerful car. So it's looking pretty good in the convertible hardtop form. Nice sort of black hood, I think contrasts well with everything else. So let's see how this drives. Definitely get up to speed. Hold it. Oh ho ho! I don't know why the engine was trying to stay intact there. It's staying attached by something. Well, that was an interesting crash. Okay, I will try not to absolutely destroy it this time. Quite interesting on the revs, but after 5,500 revs, the revs increase really quickly just as that turbo kicks in. And yes, I realise I'm driving on the wrong side of the road here. I ended up on this side, and I'll just go with that. That says because I'm British. This doesn't actually have working headlights, instead of the pulled away ones, and that's not been implemented. Whoops! BeamNG. Quite a lot of backfiring there, which is nicely explained to me by Asrios today. So now I know what that is. 170 seems to be our max speed. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't want to turn at 170. Just the clouds coming out of the back of it. We chose not to put the catalytic converter on. I'm not sure if the catalytic converter is fully implemented in automation yet. It certainly didn't used to be. In that there doesn't seem to be any legal limit on your emissions, and it doesn't seem to affect the cars and so on. It does have a detrimental effect on the performance, having to pump the exhaust through the converter, and a massive increase in price. So for now, it's just avoiding it. overloading 170 again. Almost got that corner. Didn't quite have enough braking. So there we have it. That is the new version of the Pebble. It won't be the final version of the Pebble. It's got many years left in it. Certainly this new upgrade is a huge power boost to the vehicle, and so should keep it going for many years to come. But I think that's going to be all for today. So next week we are going to be designing the successor to the T-Rex. T-Rex has certainly done us good, made us a lot of money, and so it's going to be interesting to see how we can replace that. But for now, I hope you've all enjoyed this video. If you did, like always, leave comments, like, subscribe if you've not done so. If you do have any tips for me, just let me know. If you want to get involved in what I make, or you'd like your name in the game, do consider joining Discord. Links down below. Otherwise, until next time, remember to have fun. Cheers.